Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Welcome everybody, thank you for coming. This evening, if I'm not mistaken, we're on chapter 6, and I believe it's text 40, or is it 40, or what is it? Text 40? 40? And I got a message that we've already gone through this verse partially, is that correct?
Yes.
Maybe last night. First paragraph. So there's no harm in reading the first paragraph again. I don't think there's a law against it. Hope not. But so we'll do like that, and so at least I familiarize myself with the purport. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Partanaiveya Namutra Vinashas Tasya Vidyate Nahi Kalyana Krit Kaschit Durgating Tata Gacchati Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Partha, O son of Pritha, Naiva, never is it so. Iha, in this material world. Na, never. Amutra, in the next life. Vinashaha, destruction. Tasya, his. Vidyate, exists. Na, never. He, certainly. Kalyana Krit, one who is engaged in auspicious activities. Kaschit, anyone. Durgatim, to degradation. Tata, my friend. Gacchati, goes. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Who has those cookies? We got some cookies at the last place we went. 2 boxes. Where are they? Okay. Put them here, just in case I get hungry during the class. This chapter is all about not eating too little, right? Something about that, I believe. Something about making sure you eat enough, isn't it? I think so. That's what the chapter's about, right? Make sure you eat plenty, isn't it? Is that right? Something like that. I'm sure there's some verse like that. Got to make sure if I get a little bit hungry here. Yes, that's good. Prashadam is good. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Son of Pritha, a transcendentalist, engaged in auspicious activities, does not meet with destruction, either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. It's interesting. Purport. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Narada Muni instructs Vyasadeva as follows: Chaktva sadharmam charanam bhajamhare bhajana pakvota patetato yadi yatakva vabhadram abuddha mushakim kovata apto bhajatam sadharmataha. If someone gives up all material prospects and takes complete shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no loss or degradation in any way. On the other hand, a non-devotee may fully engage in his occupational duties and yet not gain anything. For material prospects there are many activities, both scriptural and customary. A transcendentalist is supposed to give up all material activities for the sake of spiritual advancement in life or Krishna consciousness. One may argue that by Krishna consciousness one may not attain the highest perfection if it is...
One may
argue?
One may attain.
One may attain. One may argue that by Krishna consciousness one may attain the highest perfection if it is completed. But if one does not attain such a perfectional stage, then he loses both materially and spiritually. It is enjoined in the scriptures that one has to suffer the reaction for not executing prescribed duties. Therefore, one who fails to discharge transcendental activities properly becomes subjected to these reactions. The Bhagavatam assures the unsuccessful transcendentalists that there need be no worries. Even though he may be subjected to the reaction for not perfectly executing prescribed duties, he is still not a loser, because auspicious Krishna consciousness is never forgotten, and one so engaged will continue to be so, even if he is low-born in the next life. On the other hand, one who simply follows strictly the prescribed duties need not necessarily attain auspicious results if he is lacking in Krishna consciousness. The purport may be understood as follows. Humanity may be divided into two sections, namely the regulated and the non-regulated. Those who are engaged simply in bestial sense gratifications without knowledge of their next life or spiritual salvation belong to the non-regulated section, and those who follow the principles of prescribed duties in the scriptures are classified amongst the regulated section. The non-regulated section, both civilized and non-civilized, educated and non-educated, strong and weak, are full of animal propensities. Their activities are never auspicious. Because while enjoying the animal propensities of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, they perpetually remain in material existence, which is always miserable. On the other hand, those who are regulated by scriptural injunctions, and who thus rise gradually to Krishna consciousness, certainly progress in life. Those who are following the path of auspiciousness can be divided into three sections, namely the followers of scriptural rules and regulations who are enjoying material prosperity. 2. Those who are trying to find ultimate liberation from material existence. And 3. Those who are devotees in Krishna consciousness. Those who are following the rules and regulations of the scriptures for material happiness may be further divided into two classes: those who are fruitive workers and those who desire no fruit for sense gratification. Those who are after fruitive results for sense gratification may be elevated to a higher standard of life, even to the higher planets, but still, because they are not free from material existence, they are not following the truly auspicious path. The only auspicious activities are those which lead one to liberation. Any activity which is not aimed at ultimate self-realization or liberation from the material bodily concept of life is not at all auspicious. Activity in Krishna consciousness is the only auspicious activity, and anyone who voluntarily accepts all bodily discomforts for the sake of making progress on the path of Krishna consciousness can be called a perfect transcendentalist under severe austerity. And because the Eightfold Yoga system is directed toward the ultimate realization of Krishna consciousness, such practice is also auspicious, and no one who is trying his best in this matter need fear degradation. End of the purport by Srila Prabhupada. So, Hare Krishna. The beginning of the clarification by Krishna of this doubt of Arjuna. Bhagavad-Gita, Arjuna presents many doubts. Doubts are likened to demons. Earlier on we hear this. They're just like demons which have to be slashed, destroyed with a weapon of knowledge. Knowledge is not just a theoretical, armchair kind of a subject matter. It means knowledge which is, as this purport clarifies, knowledge which is practical, knowledge which is relevant. No point giving knowledge to somebody who's not able to understand or apply it. It has no value. The whole Vedic structure, the whole human society is meant to facilitate the gradual elevation of the soul towards, as Prabhupada says here, auspiciousness. Genuine, Rupa Goswami defines Krishna consciousness as all auspicious, most auspicious. It's not just relatively, people use the word auspicious in material terminology, but here in reality it's not really auspicious, because the so-called auspicious or inauspicious in the material sense of the word are only just another side of the same coin. They do not actually release the soul from this samsara cycle. They may elevate us to a heavenly planet. Many references are here of different levels of living entities: civilized, uncivilized, regulated, unregulated, fruitive, those who are aspiring for fruitive results, following some religion, but they're doing it in order to get some material returns, others to get liberation, and others just to literally awaken their love of Krishna. So there are so many different levels, and different rules are there for different persons. Vedas are full of different, directives, and some people don't know which is relevant to them. It's quite confusing, isn't it? It's quite confusing. In this age of Kali particularly, it's very confusing to try to ascertain from many of the Vedas are not even available anymore, the majority in fact, and all the various other literatures which have descended or, let's say, evolved to explain different aspects of the Vedas or the practical application of the Vedas according to time and circumstance, etc. Corollaries and so many other scriptures are there, and for an ordinary person is beyond their capacity to even read it, but to speak of ascertain that which is relevant. So that's the difficulty. In the Bhagavad-Gita, these things are mentioned, just like in this 6th chapter we're reading now. There seems to be emphasis on the practice of Astanga Yoga and Jnana Yoga, controlling the senses through the eightfold mystical process, or other means of yoga, controlling the mind and trying to, withdraw the senses from the sense objects and be steady, fixed, undisturbed, and so on and so forth, and seeing everything equally. It's all very well and good, but what are people going to do with this? Even Arjuna, right? Even Arjuna said, to me this doesn't seem realistic, it's not possible. The mind is more restless, turbulent, more difficult to control than the raging wind. So even Arjuna practically saw, this is not really practical. Krishna said it is possible by regulation and detachment, but not easy at all. Especially in Kali Yuga, where most people are really, Kaloshuddha are really quite low down the chart. Not even hardly in the human category, although we call human beings. They fall almost into the non-human category. Totally irregulated, as far by Vedic standards. They may be regulated by, some sense gratificatory factors, but not by Vedic standards according to scriptural injunctions. They're certainly not following, in most cases, scriptural injunctions. So they're basically considered to be more or less on the level of animals in human, Dvipadi Pashu, the two-legged animals. So what to do? Very hard for people in this age to follow such injunctions or strictures. They are there, and of course some people do, and some people are more qualified, you could say. But that's the whole point, is to take that which is relevant, information which is relevant. Otherwise, people cannot digest it. It's a mystery to them. Or they take the wrong information, something which is applicable to more advanced personalities or less advanced personalities. And you go down, or you don't go up, you certainly don't go forward. You have to take it, like in anything, you have to know where you're situated, isn't it? If we want to go somewhere, say everybody here wants to go to Mayapur, okay? And some people in Bombay, Mumbai now, want to go to Mayapur. Somebody in Chennai wants to go to Mayapur, okay? So, you may, I don't know if you have such a thing in India, but in most Western countries, they have some kind of automobile association. You phone them up and you can ask them. Nowadays you have your GPS, you don't need to do it. But previously we would get the information from the automobile association. How do I get there? Huh? First question they ask you is what? Where are you? I mean, they can't give you any information unless they know where you are. So knowing where we're situated is a preliminary to progress. We've got to know what the goal is, but if we don't know where we are, it's also going to be a problem. If you don't know what the goal is, even if you know where you are, you're not going to get very far either. You're going to know both, huh? And you've also got to know the means to get from where we are to the goal, isn't it? If you're a sportsman, say you're a footballer or something, you don't know what the goal is. Are you going to win? No. You can play a good game, but you're not going to win. We have to know what the goal is also. So the goal is, at least in the Bhagavad-Gita, is quite clear. And also a lot of information is given to help us to understand where we're situated. And then according to where we're situated, what we should do. Even that's quite perplexing to most of us. Even if it's there, we still can't quite work it out. So that's why we, in society, in human society at least, thank you, Hare Krishna. There's a whole structure, thank you, to help people know where they're situated. Varna ashram specifically is one aspect of that, on a practical level, to help a person to advance. Because the whole Varna ashram system is developed for that reason. It's Daivi Varna ashram, it's not just Varna ashram. As Prabhupada mentions here, even if one is following all the rules and regulations, what's the use if one doesn't know the goal, or one's not working for the goal? You're not going to win, are you? You may be brilliant dribbler or whatever it is, but you're not going to win. You've got to know the goal, and you've got to know how to reach that goal. And you've got to know everything we're doing is to reach that goal, isn't it? That's the point of all that we're doing, is to reach that goal. Otherwise, there's not much point, as the Bhagavatam says, Dharmas Pranushitak Pungsham Vishvaksena Katasya No Pariyarya Devading Shrama Eva Kevalam. All the activities we may perform, they may be nicely done, even according to scriptural injunctions. If they don't awaken attraction towards the personality of Godhead, they're Shrama Eva Kevalam. Prabhupada would say that about religion. And we also have to question ourselves. Let's not be some kind of holier than thou guys. We have to question ourselves. Are we actually achieving it? If we're not, then we have to see and look to see why. We should be developing our attraction towards Krishna. If we are becoming more attracted to sense gratification, we really have to ask a question. This whole 6th chapter is geared towards, definitely not towards material sense gratification. Quite the opposite, isn't it? Strongly, even the desire for sense gratification. Okay, you can say sometimes when we clean a house, you come across dirt you never realized was there. That's a fact. But we don't, therefore we have to, maybe that comes up sometimes, dirty thoughts which we never realized were so ingrained in our subconsciousness may come up. Have you ever made ghee from butter? It's not so common nowadays, but I remember when I first joined the temple in the early 70s, that was how we got ghee. We couldn't get ghee in England. It was not very easy. You could get it, but it was very, very expensive. But we would get butter from the surplus, very cheap if not free. And we would turn it into ghee. So what do you do? How do you do it? Pardon? Pardon? Boil it, yeah. You boil it. You can churn butter, you can also do that, it's a long process. But in the West, we're too lazy for that. You boil it, but you got to be a little careful, but if you do it properly, you boil the ghee, don't burn it, you boil it at a certain temperature, right? And you leave it for quite a while, once you get the right temperature, isn't it? What happens? You've got this kind of Butter. You can't see through butter, right? Imagine if you got some butter you could see through it. You probably think something wrong with this butter. You can't see through butter. So you put it in the pot. Maybe you got 20 sticks. You put them in the pot, and you boil it. And what do you do? What happens? Yeah, gradually things separate, don't they? It's amazing. See, that's what happens. When you boil the milk, or boil the butter in this case, things start to separate. So in our Krishna consciousness movement also, when we turn the temperature up a little bit, things start to separate. Things become clarified. What is ghee called? Clarified butter, right? It's like that. Clarified consciousness. So, but in the meantime, you're going to get a lot of cloudy. You might get a lot of clouds coming up, right? When they churn the ocean of milk, right? Right? They churn, wasn't it? Is that what they did? Demons and demigods? All sorts of things came out, didn't they? You couldn't see them. But they started coming out. Good and bad, all sorts of stuff came out. All these things may come out, materially speaking, auspicious or inauspicious. All sorts of things may rise. When you do the ghee also, some of it sticks to the bottom and some of it goes to the top, right? Isn't it? Later, I'm sure many of you are also familiar with that. If you have a mobile phone, I guess you do. I haven't met a person for a long time without one. But if you could put it on some quiet mode or something like that, if you could, please. If you can. So you see that. Some goes to the top, some sticks to the bottom. Yeah, isn't it? What do you do with the stuff on the bottom? You leave it. You don't disturb it, right? Don't get into it. Don't get, oh my goodness, there's stuff on the bottom. You get your metal spoon. You're cooking in an aluminium pot particularly. And you get your metal spoon and you scrape the bottom. Got to get that stuff off the bottom. The worst thing you can do, from many points of view. Leave it alone. Don't go there. And the stuff on the top, what do you do? Scoop it off, right? Scoop it off. And gradually, over hours and hours maybe, the ghee gradually becomes purified, clarified. Takes a little time, patience. Or you can go to the shop and just buy a tin these days of ghee. You don't waste your time. Or it's not a waste of time, but you don't use your time like that. So like that in Krishna consciousness, we got some stuff you don't go there. It's there, you just keep away from it. And some stuff you have to scoop off. But you've got to expect there's going to be some things like that cropping up. It takes a little time to clarify our consciousness. And you can't see the dirt in the beginning, but once you start boiling a little bit, then it may manifest. Huh? Keep boiling. Don't get, oh my God. Oh no. Oh, I didn't know I had that desire. Oh no. Before I chanted Hare Krishna, I never thought like that. Oh. It's not exactly a result of chanting. It's just that the devotional service reveals these good and bad things inside us, We've got to go beyond that. Don't get stuck up with it. Don't get stuck in it. We've got to keep boiling and go beyond it. It'll eventually, as I say, the consciousness will clarify. Some stuff will be scooped off, some stuff will be left behind. Because when you pour the ghee out, you don't pour the crud on the bottom either. It gets stuck to the pan. It's stuck to the material left behind in the material wood. Hari Bol. So we have to, be a little bit resilient, a little bit patient, a little bit determined, and follow the relevant path. Not too hot, not too cold. If it's too cold, it won't boil. If it's too hot, you might burn it. Right? You've got to know what is relevant, what is right for us, what temperature. At this point of where I'm on the journey, what is relevant. Now, the wonderful thing about this age of Kali, and there are maybe a few other wonderful things about this age of Kali, but there's one very wonderful thing about this age of Kali, and I can think of at least several, but can you think of one or two wonderful things in this age of Kali? Pardon? Very easy. Wasn't it wonderful? The boiling process is very easy. And no matter who you are and what level you're on, I can't stand on my head for more than about a split second. Then you have to call the doctor probably. Or maybe I can do it still, I don't know. I haven't tried for a long time. But most of these things we can't do. You can't sit still for very long usually. Not for long, usually. Staring at the tip of your nose and sit absolutely straight, fearlessly sitting there, like that, isn't it? It's very hard on deer skin and in the holy place, facing this way and that way, undisturbed, meditating on the super soul in the heart, undisturbed, unwavering, mind unwavering. People can't do that. Only if it's their favorite television program they can do that for a little while, isn't it? Sometimes you can't get through to, or they're on their mobile phone or something, you can't get through to them, they're fixed. But even that is not really fixed, it's always, always changing. People are not very focused, not very resolute in their purpose, their intelligence is very weak. So in this Kali Yuga, no matter who we are, and another wonderful thing, tell me another wonderful thing about this age of Kali, that's Srimad Bhagavatam, but that's always there, but especially in Kali Yuga, Anartha Pashamam Sakshak, Bhakti-yoga Dhokshiri. So the Bhagavatam in this age of Kali as was asked, requested by the sages, to whom the religious principle is now gone. And Vasudha Goswami then explained, Srimad Bhagavatam is now present. Yes, that's wonderful. But that's always there, but it's specifically, you can say, shines and stands out in this Kali Yuga. Way above everything. What else? Very good. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared in this age, hasn't he? In this Kali Yuga. He doesn't appear, does he, in every Kali Yuga? Huh? Not in every... Gaur Narayan, it said, appears in other Kali Yugas, a form of Narayan, also golden. But he doesn't give the Mahamantra. He doesn't give Krishna Prema. Maybe some Aishvarya Bhav, like that, but not Madhurya, not Prema. In this age, Lord Chaitanya, and not freely. In this age, Lord Chaitanya, Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Srimati Radharani combined, appear, and they give the highest, most auspicious, beyond and above even people's imagination of auspiciousness, isn't it? They've appeared in this world. Most people don't know. And they've given, in such a nice way, they've given us. Lord Chaitanya is described, Chaitanya Charitamrita Kaviraj Goswami describes how the Lord appears in this age, particularly to taste Krishna Prema, along with the congregational chanting of the holy name. In this way, he is distributing this nectar, even to along with his followers, along with his expansions basically, to all the untouchable people of this age. In this way, he's wove a wreath. You know a wreath? What's a wreath? Who knows what a wreath is? It's not a commonly used English word. What is a wreath? You know what it is? Yeah, that's right. It's going around in a circle here. What does that mean?
They use it for Christmas most of the time.
For?
Christmas.
Christmas. Yeah, they use it at Christmas time. You see the holly wreaths going around like this. Yeah, round one. Or sometimes, especially in cremation, when they put it on the cemetery, you see them there. It means, basically, it's not a garland exactly, it's round, perfectly round like this. Like the world, whatever it may be, I don't know, people argue about what the world is. I think it's triangular, but some people, not many people agree with me. Some people think round, oblong, flat, whatever. It doesn't matter. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's not really important, is it? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wove a wreath of the holy name and Krishna Prema with which he garlanded the entire material world. Yeah. No matter who you are, you can be a dog, a hog, a camel, an ass, or even a human being. Even the humans are not even excluded. They're also included. Although they're probably the most fallen of creatures on the planet in general, right? Can't get much lower than most human beings on this planet. Really speaking, I mean, it's a fact. But nobody's excluded. Every single person, and I wouldn't be surprised if every single entity maybe, but at least human beings on this planet has in some way or another been touched by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Some way or another. We may not be able to see the effect. As mentioned here, it may take time. It may take time. It may take lifetimes. But the seed has been planted. And as Krishna is saying here, it is never forgotten, Prabhupada is saying. Never forgotten. It will bear fruit. Because it's really auspicious. Not like the material auspiciousness, which has a beginning and an end. And once you've got the result of it, it's over. Isn't it? Whatever it is, isn't it? Karma works like that. You do some good work, you get a good result. But it's over after some time. Bhagavad gives the example, it's not exactly auspicious. You're working all year long. We used to, many of us grow up like this. You know, all year long your parents work in a factory or an office or something, collect a bunch of money, and for 6 months we're like meditating on where to go for our holidays, right? We used to meditate on the Spanish Riviera. I used to love those holidays when I was a kid on the Spanish Riviera. Because my father worked in the railways, so we got free train tickets. So that's where we were able to go. And Italian Riviera. Didn't like the French Riviera at all, but the Spanish one was nice. And we said, Mom, I want to go there. They had to work all year. And then we go on holiday 2 weeks and hope it didn't rain. And then we come back after 2 weeks and back to normal again. Didn't last long. And look forward to Christmas. And then after Christmas, you look forward to the holiday. That was the year. My birthday was close to Christmas. I had another little one near Christmas. And then we look forward to the summer holiday. Yes. Material life, huh? It doesn't last. You say, oh, very auspicious. Or call it something else, whatever. But it doesn't last. But real auspiciousness lasts forever. You never lose it. It ever increases. Material world, even good karma, only goes, so what? And it goes down. Up and down. Samsara, around the merry-go-round. But spiritual auspiciousness is eternal. And it's ever, ever increasing. If you read the earlier verse, talking about the state of consciousness of a transcendentalist, how the joy is everlasting and it is unbounding, isn't it? It has no limits. It's not like in the material world, you know. Everything has a limit. You can drink. How many of you drink liquor? I mean, how many here drink? How many pints can you drink? Oh, liters maybe here. How many liters can you drink? Huh? Nobody? You don't drink liquor? No liquor here? No? What's wrong with you guys? Huh? Charnamrita, okay. How many liters of Charnamrita can you drink? We have this, what is it, on Balaram Rasayatra, we have this Varuni beverage. Huh? I know how you do it here, but we make this Varuni beverage in some countries. It's so rich. Oh boy, it's more intoxicating than Guinness Stout. It's so good, you know, so good. Huh?
You know, this Abhishekam jal they offer, during festival time, some Abhishekam is there. It's so heavy with ghee and all that you cannot drink 4 or 5 glasses more than that.
Really? You've done it already? 4 or 5 glasses? How did you feel after 4 or 5 glasses? Totally what?
I thought I would vomit.
Vomiting? Oh my goodness. That's the result of taking Charnamrita? Overdose. Huh? He had an overdose. Yeah, the same thing, and even in our so-called practice of devotion service, we've got to know the dosage, you know. Medicine, you've got to know the dosage. Some can take more than others. The same with liquor. When I was a liquor drinker, you know, I didn't like liquor, I never liked it. But, you know, we were in an association of people who do take liquor. You kind of have to take liquor, otherwise they think there's something wrong with you, you know. Or you think there's something wrong with yourself. So you kind of have to go along with the show, but horrible stuff. But, you know, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pints of liquor you can take. And then you're starting getting a bit spinning. And then one more, as you say, one more glass of Charnamrita, it's like... Unless you're from France, they used to do it purposely. The royalty in France used to purposely do that. They would make themselves vomit, and then so they could take it again. They were really expert sense enjoyers, I tell you. They were really into it. You can see the result. They had their heads chopped off, but anyway. It's the result of becoming overindulgent in sense gratification. But the point being, you can only take so much. You get a bit of pleasure for a while, and then it turns into misery, right? And it only goes so far, and you spent all your money. Maybe lost it as well, and borrowed maybe, lost it. Oftentimes you lose your money when you get drunk. Someone just snatches it from you or something. Because you're not in control of your senses, you're not sober. Like that, material life is like that. Everything's like that. It comes to a peak and it goes down again. Huh? Even if it's a good one, that's a bad one. But even if it's a good one, how long does it last? No, if I probably be reading yesterday, probably saying, "Oh, your charity work." He was talking to somebody. What's his name? Jackie Vaughan. Jackie Vaughan was a black politician in Detroit. You know, nice man, really, very nice man, but very favourable. And he was admitting that what he was doing was really no good. He was trying to do welfare work to uplift the poor people. Probably saying, well, "What's the result? There are more poor people than ever were. Where is it? What's the benefit of all this? There are starving people. There are sick people. It's going on despite all of these things. So where's the real benefit? Where's it really getting us?" And he admitted that. He said, "It's true what you say, but that's my job, you know." And he could understand. Prabhupada was explaining to him what real auspiciousness is, what real welfare work is, you know. To bring this to an end is the path of liberation, the path of Krishna consciousness is the only, you can put it under different names, it's not monopolized, but the principle, the path of liberation, the path of Krishna consciousness is the only auspicious path. Every other path leads to something short of that. At most it leads to some kind, well, liberation we mentioned, that's also categorized as auspicious, but not completely, it's only partial stage, but at least it's auspicious. But going to the heavenly planets is just a temporary holiday. You're going to come back again. You don't stay there. Unless you become Krishna conscious, you can't go forward either. You're up, you're down. You work hard, you go up, then you come down. And you may go down further. It's up and down like this. Different species of life, different planets, different this and that. It's not really auspicious. You're keeping it in the dark. Just giving someone, you know, a torchlight in the dark may seem good, but it's not really the solution. The solution is to get into the sun. As long as you're in the dark, things are not clear, and fear will always be there. When you've noticed, when you're in the sunlight, there's not much fear, is there? I mean, there may be, but I mean, like knock noises, a bang. You know, in the dark, there's oftentimes easily some movement. You kind of, what was that? What was that? Where's that? Who's that? You're much more tendency, especially ladies, right? Isn't it? Ladies, psychology usually is a little bit more easily afraid of maybe it's a mouse, but you don't know what it is. You know, even if it is a mouse, you'll be afraid. But whatever it may be, you know, it's dark. In ignorance, we're afraid. Fear is there where there's ignorance. So as long as you keep people in ignorance of their actual identity, you're not really doing anything auspicious in the real sense of the term, because you're keeping people in darkness. Feeding them, clothing them, material education, all these things is simply keeping people in ignorance, keeping them in the darkness. Maybe they feel more comfortable in the darkness. You know, you're surrounded with other people who are telling you, "Don't worry, it's okay, I'm here." You know, you've got a nice bed to lie down in, you've got a bit of money in the bank, "Don't worry, the doctor will come and help you if you have any problems. The police force are here to give you trouble, to help you out, I mean. Don't worry, the government's here, they'll look after all your needs as long as you pay them all your money in tax. They'll look after all your needs once you're dead. No problems." And so on and so forth. Huh? And as people are putting up big, I'm happy now, I've got a big fence around my garden, I've got 6 guard dogs, or 6 langur monkeys to guard my property. I got alarm systems set nicely, we got CCTV cameras everywhere, nothing to worry about anymore. Why the hell have you got all those things? Previously you didn't need any of those things. Even in our lifetime experience, it's gone from one. The street I lived in a little tiny industrial street, no gardens, nothing, house to house, back to back, no bedroom, no bathrooms rather, no kitchens, nothing in these houses. But every door was open. I could walk into anyone's house in that area, and they would welcome me like their own son. And that was in England. "Oh, would you like some biscuits?" "Uh-huh, yes, thank you very much." Ooh. You know, little kid, eat the biscuits. You go to the next house, you get a glass of orange juice or something. You know, everybody was like friendly, you know, like that. Even in England it was like that. You don't even know who your neighbor is now. You don't want to know. Literally. People are living in an apartment, they don't even know the person next door is sometimes. They don't want to either. You know, the whole world has become so degraded, so impersonal, and so, irreligious isn't the word for it. Just so degraded. So Vedic society was very scientific. Varnashram is so scientific to accommodate every single person, not just materially, but in a way that unknowingly or knowingly, they will advance towards the purpose of life. Even the animals, everybody, they were completely oblivious, unknowing, but were given that chance to go forward and not just remain in this endless, almost pointless cycle of birth and death. How to go forward? Because the society was arranged like that. The head was Krishna conscious. It's like our body. If the head is Krishna conscious, the rest of the body is going to act accordingly, right? If your head's full of garbage, the rest of your body is going to be engaged in garbage. Isn't it? And we were talking, I would say, allegorically or something. It's like that. So the head of society was Krishna conscious. Otherwise it's a useless society. Useless. It may look good. That's why the whole Battle of Kurukshetra was fought because of that, basically. Duryodhana was a great manager materially, as good as anyone, but he wasn't a devotee. So what gain is there? No real benefit for the purpose of human life. It's not just to enjoy the senses. Most people think the goal of life is sense gratification. Is it? One form or another, right? Sense enjoyment. You've got to satisfy your senses and our senses. Kind of within the hour, you've got to satisfy your. But that's not the goal of human life. It's to satisfy Krishna's senses. The Varnashram system's given by Krishna. Chaturvanya Maya Shishtam. Isn't it? Guna Karma Vibhagasha is given by Krishna for the benefit of the whole population. Okay, Kali Yuga, things have fallen down. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya has given this accessible, you could say, process to one and all, Harinam Sankirtan. And no matter what situation we're in, even if we're in a dog's body, you can take part in Harinam Sankirtan. Isn't it? You've seen dogs take part, I'm sure. Have you seen dogs take part? Yes. Many times, right? Whatever they got in their mind, I do not know. But they seem to be taking part. Sometimes they're jumping up and down with us, barking, trying to bark along with the kirtan. Jumping up and down in the kirtan, going round in circles with us like this sometimes. You get all kinds of amazing realizations how this movement is really the only real auspicious. Others may seem auspicious for little few people here in a certain position, but this Sankirtan movement is auspicious for every single living entity, and even the non-moving ones. Haridas Thakur said to Lord Chaitanya, they also benefit from this Harinam Sankirtan, the loud chanting. It's the only saving grace in it. And any single person, as this purport infers, anyone who gets a little drop of that, even if they are still engaged in sinful activity, they may have to suffer, Prabhupada says it here, the reactions for that, but the result of that little contact with Krishna consciousness will never ever be lost. Neha bhikramo nashosti bhaktavayana vidyate. Svampamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahatobayat. Earlier, second chapter of Krishna, right in the beginning practically of Krishna's instructions, he says that. There is no loss or diminution on this path. Even a little bit of advancement can save one from the greatest danger, which is falling down into total ignorance. That little bit of devotional connection guarantees that person the chance to have more in the future. Next lifetime usually, or in this lifetime, the chance to grow. I was saying the other day, the result of chanting, one time Prabhupada said, what's the effect of chanting? Prabhupada said, the effect of chanting is more chanting. Maybe in the higher stages is also more chanting, it'll be more than that as well. It'll be a loving reciprocations and so on and so forth. In the beginning you don't think like that, it's kind of just, most people at the very beginning are not even thinking of anything, they're just, hey, Hare Krishna, hey. And then they go on, they see another Hare Krishna somewhere else. Hey, it's the Hares again, hey, Hare Krishna, hey. Or whatever it is. They're making advancement in spiritual life. Hey, the Hare Krishna should be kicked out of town. Kick him out. They're making advancement. Krishna here is Hare Krishna. Right? Their spiritual life is, maybe they may have to have a kick because they said kick him out, but they get the benefit of Hare Krishna as well. Maya may kick him a bit. kick them out, but then the Hare Krishna will stick. You know. It's so auspicious. There's a special mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this age of Kali and his pure devotees, the followers of Lord Chaitanya, particularly Srila Prabhupada. Goodness me. Probably the most auspicious thing that has ever happened, practically speaking, was Srila Prabhupada's coming to the Western world, wasn't it? If Prabhupada hadn't come to the Western world, where would we be? Where would we be? This temple wouldn't be here. I don't think most of the temples in Vrindavan would be here. The new ones, right? Or even the development you may like or not like, but the fact of the matter is that this Krishna consciousness is just burgeoning, it's just bursting everywhere because Prabhupada went to the Western world. That's the reason. It wasn't going very far before, really, honestly, whatever people say. Quiet. Even when I first came here, and some of you were here before me perhaps, in the mid-70s, Vrindavan wasn't much different to when Prabhupada was here, except the Krishna Balaram temple was here. That was the beginning, really. Hardly any, as you know, there's hardly anything on this Bhaktivedanta Marg, Chatikar Road at that time. Nothing. It was just like a empty lane going out into nowhere. Well, I went to the main road, but there was nobody on it. A few bicycles, once in a while a bus, twice a day I think the bus came along. Once in a while an old, ambassador taxi came rolling down. Very little, much to that. It was really, really quiet, really quiet. And now you can see, for better or for worse, you can see what's happened. And not just here, so many places, all over the world. There was nothing. Nobody knew anything about Krishna. One of the Hindu gods. That's the best they knew. Huh? Right? Vegetarianism. One big man in the Vegetarian Society said, actually, to tell you the truth, one of the main reasons is an upgrade of vegetarianism is because of you guys. So many people becoming vegetarians. In some countries it's 10% or more now in the Western world. Vegetarian. It was probably 0.01% when I was a kid. When I became a vegetarian, my parents thought I should go to see the psychiatrist. I was probably the first vegetarian in the whole town, probably. Maybe, I don't think there were any Indians. Maybe a few Indians were, I don't know. There weren't many, there were only a few Indians there anyway. It was unheard of to be a vegetarian. Only people who were really sick, they had some physical reasons. Otherwise, vegetarian, what's this, are you crazy? They couldn't relate to it. Now it's like, everyone's got to cater for vegetarians. It's like part and parcel of society. It wasn't like that. A lot of that's due to, we're not saying that's auspicious necessarily, but it's facilitating possible auspiciousness. And Prabhupada coming to the Western world. None of us, this temple wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. None of us would know. I mean, the Indian devotees here today would know something, but not the real thing. Not the full thing. Very rare. Some of you may, but not many. All due to Srila Prabhupada, the most auspicious thing that's happened. Perhaps, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the other great pure devotees, but in one sense, for the world, it's the most auspicious thing. Because Prabhupada is doing what Lord Chaitanya wanted. Lord Chaitanya spread Krishna consciousness around India, what we call it. Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhakti Vinod Thakur also spread Krishna consciousness wherever he went, many Namahats and so on in part of India. He published a lot of books, sent his books to the West. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj sent some disciples to the West, but didn't achieve very much with all due respect. But Prabhupada himself came to the West, alone. Isn't it amazing? And because what a powerful tree, what a powerful, giving these fruits, so powerful. And we can only do a little bit to try to plant the seed or awaken that in other people's hearts, plant that little seed. Prabhupada somebody gives the example, it's like radiation. We're all affected, but we may not be conscious of it. But in places where there's like a nuclear bomb or some radioactive, nuclear reactors, leak or something, you get the radiation. It sticks. It doesn't. It goes. It can gradually destroy you. It grows. You don't see anything. It just gradually kind of works its way on you, eats you away or whatever it does. It's like that. Cancer, similar thing. Just once it's there and you don't do anything about it, it just grows. So devotional service, when that seed's planted, it's just a matter of time. That's all. Matter of time. But we just want to speed it up a little bit and be a more effective instrument for that dissemination of Krishna consciousness. Because as long as we're maintaining our own agendas and our own mental desires and mental activity, physical sense enjoyment and so on, compromising whatever it is, the less that the actual effect, less the effect of our preaching or our interacting with the world will be. The purer our consciousness is, and more sincere, the sincere we are, the more Krishna consciousness will. It will be easier to affect others' hearts. Put it like that. They'll be immediately affected, more so. Of course, people may be very thick-skinned, as we say in English, with very crust, very many layers around their consciousness. So it may take a little time, but it'll have more effect. Lord Chaitanya, being the Supreme Lord, was able to awaken Krishna consciousness in the thickest of consciousness. Even animals and birds and jungle creatures were immediately awoken. We can't do that. Prabhupada said we can't do that. But at least we can try to awaken Krishna consciousness in other human beings. So now is a great chance to spread this auspiciousness and give everyone a chance at least of not wasting their human life by getting some degree of Krishna consciousness. Next month, December is coming upon us, it's the Prabhupada Book Marathon. And it's a great chance for all of us. We do need a little bit of, what do you call it, a little bit of incentive, a little bit of something to inspire us to go ahead. So it's a great chance for everyone, however small it is. Take part in this. We always used to please Prabhupada, to please Krishna. Distribute Prabhupada's books, Bhagavatams, other books, which are expansions of the Bhagavatam, for the benefit of the whole world and to create auspiciousness. Srila Prabhupada writes in the 4th canto Bhagavatam somewhere there in Dhruva Maharaj, I think. No, it's the history of King Prachani Barishat. King Prachani Barishat, Puranjan, right? In that history, how King Prachani Barishat was performing sacrifices here, there, and everywhere, and so on and so forth. So Prabhupada said we should also learn from this and perform one sacrifice after the next without a break. And he's talking about Sankirtan. He's talking about Sankirtan yogis should go on non-stop, one after the next, after the next, after the next. In this way, we'll create auspiciousness in the world and bring peace and unity in the world, because it raises people to the spiritual platform. We no longer see each other on the bodily platform of discriminating according to our material karmic conditionings, but help us to rise to perception, change of perception, bring about real auspiciousness, not auspicious for some and at the cost of others, but to raise everyone. And we don't have the Varnashram system, unfortunately, in place, but maybe some God-inspired persons will be able to move forward more on that in the future, selflessly, for the benefit of everyone. But at least we have the Mahamantra, and we have Prabhupada's books, and we have prasadam to distribute everywhere. So take this up. It's auspicious for the whole world. Create auspiciousness so that everyone can begin, if not continue, with their path back to Godhead and not have to take birth again. Even if they don't follow up on it, they get no loss, is there? No loss. Devotees, many times devotees drift away after some time, sometimes very short time, sometimes a long time for various reasons. We get captured by that rising crud in the ghee and we go floating off into the wilderness somewhere for some time, but not for long. I've seen personally experiences so many devotees who drifted away maybe 20, 30 years ago. You see them coming back in. One devotee came up to me and said, Haribol Maharaj, do you remember me? This is la 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 la. I can't remember even his name now. Something like that. I haven't seen him in 35 years. Been away, and I've come back. First time, some of us, first time in 30 years in Vrindavan. Wow! Back again, back home again. You can't leave. Prabhupada even said that one time. He said, you may think, so one devotee was saying, Srila Prabhupada, sometimes devotees, they leave ISKCON. Prabhupada said, no one leaves. No one leaves. You may think like that, but my initiative is no one can leave. You may go, like a child sometimes goes home, but the parents, they've never really left home. They're still there. Just a matter of time, on a lease, we're going to come back. This is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada and pure devotees. They just want everyone, Vasudev Datta, everyone to go back to Godhead. We can't see what's going on. We only see the body. We think, oh no, nothing's happening. You don't know what's going on spiritually. This body is just, a dress. It's not the soul. We can't see what's happening. Krishna can take everyone in the universe back to Godhead in this very moment if he wants, and you won't notice any difference. That's what he said. When Vasudeva was willing to stay and suffer forever, let everyone go back to God, he said, just by your desire, it's going to happen. But you won't notice any differences because the whole universe will be filled up again with appropriate dormant living entities who will fill up all the various bodies. And they won't know anything's happened. We're thinking on this body still, but it's not like that. Amazing. Krishna can do anything. We can't see. You know. Prabhupada, I remember in San Francisco, one of my favorite quotes. I think it was 74. At the Rath Yatra, Prabhupada was maybe 5,000 or 10,000 hippies at the Rath Yatra. All hippies, probably mostly intoxicated. Some of them not even dressed very well. They thought they were dressed well, but very cheap dress, put it like that, very economic dress. And Prabhupada sat there and said, all you boys and girls who are here today who see Lord Jagannath on the Rath car are going back to Godhead in your next lifetime. They probably didn't even hear what he said. Pure devotee can do that. We can't we can't imitate, but just see how it can be. You know. It's not the body that's going back to Godhead. Of course, the mind has to be purified, but Krishna can do anything. It's the soul that goes back to Godhead. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions? Questions? Yes. Gauranga Prema. Have you got Prema from Lord Chaitanya? Microphone. It's a microphone. We've got a mobile phone, but we have no microphone. Yeah, it's broadcast live. Well, you can ask loud and I'll repeat it. Okay, we'll just ask, I'll repeat it, if it's not too long.
You may have touched on the answer a little bit towards the end there, but maybe it'd be nice to hear more, because I've been wondering about this point. As Krishna said, you mentioned in the second chapter that there's no loss of diminution. But in this verse he says that one who does good is never overcome by evil. But we do see that there are some devotees like Dvivida.
Who?
Dvivida the gorilla.
Dvivida the gorilla?
Dvivida the gorilla.
Dvivida, is he here?
He's an associate of Lord Ramachandra.
Oh yeah, a great devotee of Lord Ramachandra.
But then he becomes this horrible being.
Well, it couldn't be that horrible. He was with Lord Balaram fighting away there, wasn't he? Very fortunate.
What does this statement mean? Like, one who does good can never be overcome by evil, because we sometimes see examples of Ramachandra Puri as well.
Yeah, well, it depends. Of course, you were talking of exceptional situations here of personalities who are, generally speaking, eternal associates of the Lord. They're not ordinary living entities. They play parts like Duryodhana. Prabhupada said Duryodhana is an eternal associate of Balaram, devotee of Balaram, just playing a part in the Leela. You know, you think of him as number one arch demon in the Mahabharata, rightly speaking, but Prabhupada clearly says, because Hari Story asked him, why is Lord Balaram always seems to be so kind to Duryodhana when he's like number one demon? It's contradictory, isn't it? He was Dvivida, the gorilla. You know, he had a bit of a misunderstanding with Lakshmana, and he's come back again now to clear it up. So, Prabhupada said, because Duryodhana is an eternal associate of Balaram. He's just playing a part. They play parts for the Leela, to show what not to do and what to do. And what happens if you do the wrong thing, and what happens if you do the right thing. They all take different parts. They're acharya, they're teaching by their example, you could say. Though they don't appear to be devotees, they're playing a part to show us how, from our point of view, the meaning is a little different. Overcome by evil, one who does good, well, it depends to what degree we talk or what level we talk about that, good and evil. Evil is really anything separated from Krishna. It's not a question of relativity of material good or evil. It's a question of anything which is consciously apparently done or seems to be done separately from the will of Krishna. That's evil. That's evil. So one who does good, and maybe saying do good, engage in devotional service, will never be overcome with that. They may temporarily appear to be overcome, but they won't be overcome. Just like Dhruva Maharaj was temporarily seen to be overcome by the Yaksha's array of mystic power, but he wasn't really, he was still there. He wasn't absolutely overcome. He wasn't carried away by it. So it appears that a person may be, but it's only for some time to learn what is a lesson. Krishna's teaching a lesson so that you get actually freed permanently from that tendency or that effect of the material world. But you're not fully overcome. You're under Krishna's proper states. That when a person first comes in contact with Krishna consciousness, Krishna takes the hand. And if he places that devotee in the position or that person in the position which appears to be materialistic, it's all part of their actually coming out of the material world. They're on the path. So the material experiences which one undergoes are also part of that path to come out of the material world. In the Bhagavad-Gita, in the 10th canto, 10th canto? Yeah, 10th canto appears the Lord Brahma. How there it's described how that they appear to be just like ordinary reactions, material reactions, you're doing this and that. But the Lord arranges certain circumstances which appear to be karmic reactions, but they're not. They're actually the Lord's special arrangement to remove the last vestiges of the mentality which causes us to remain in this world of, separate consciousness from Krishna. That's the idea. That these things go on, and they're allowed to go on by the Supreme Lord, because even in our own movement things are going on. We wonder, why is this going on? It's being allowed to go on by Krishna because there's a lesson which we have to learn. Everyone who's involved in it has a particular lesson to learn. And our shortcoming, and until we learn that, we will continually experience a similar scenario, that there's no one else that is to blame for it. Nobody. Nobody at all. Only myself. And it's not that we blame ourselves necessarily, but we have to understand this is for a lesson for me to learn. Externally, things have to be done to adjust or to correct behavior, but internally we have to see it like that and not just blame the circumstance, blame the person, blame somebody like that. But we understand this situation is for my benefit. And one of our leaders, I was just with him just now, he's going through these type of things for a long time now. And he has a new mantra. He says, whatever happens to me is good for me. That's his present mantra. Whatever happens to me is good for me. He just keeps reminding himself. Oh, he chants Hare Krishna as well. Otherwise it's no good for even whatever it is. But it's for our purification. Krishna takes the hand. The living entity doesn't know what's going on. Just like a parent with a young child. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? It doesn't like what the parent's telling you. You can't play, you've got to do your homework, you've got to sit down, you've got to do this, you've got to eat, you've got to that. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Why is it? Why are you like this? I hate you. They say to their mother. But the mother's maybe not in full knowledge, but she's doing what she thinks is best for the child or the father. Like that. So Krishna's doing that. But we may still be struggling and fighting against Krishna's will. But the will of the pure devotee is very powerful. Prabhupada's will. And my will is you deliver them all. So Krishna has to do something, whatever it takes. It may be a few kicks, a few knocks. You may have to learn the hard way, You may have to vomit a few more times before you give it up. I did. I think after about, I don't know how many vomits, but I eventually gave up taking liquor. And I don't know how many, I had a lot of good trips and a lot of bad trips on LSD, but eventually I gave it up, I realized this is not for me. Sometimes you have to have a few kicks before you give it up, It looks like why, but it's this one form of teaching. Maya's business is to teach as well. We have to learn the lesson. So fear not that although it appears when it falls away, but it's just whatever it takes. If we're very much attached or there's some heavy thing we've done, we've got some heavy kind of like purification or something, it might take a little long, but it'll happen. Eventually we'll come to our senses once that seed is planted. be confident. Hare Krishna. Anything else? Yes, Sadhu.
You mentioned that mind can be controlled by regulation and detachment.
Krishna says that, yeah.
So can you please elaborate more?
Yeah, by regulation and detachment. Well, that's exactly what this movement's all about, isn't it? You're regulating your activities, is it not? Regulating activities, whatever those are, we regulate. Regulate whatever they are, and we're at different stages, so it's not that we can't imitate somebody at a high stage, but regulate your activities, chanting, hearing, remembering, worshipping, or whatever it is, even if they're mixed. You're grihasta, you're having some interaction with the wife, should be at least regulated at first. Eventually, if we become purified, there'll be no interest. Regulate the activities and detachment. That means, to the extent of, we could say easily, association. Taking the best association we can. Try to avoid the association which further entangles us or causes us to become even more inclined towards that kind of sense gratification. In other words, if you're coming to Krishna conscious, you're a meat eater or a drunkard or something, or you want to try, if you associate with drunkards at the early stages, it'll be difficult. It's like with preaching, when you're more advanced, like Lord Nityananda, he would go into a liquor house. In the beginning, with other devotees, you may also to preach sometimes, but generally speaking, you've got to be careful if you're, coming from this. You avoid that type of and try to associate with the favorable association. Read the Nectar of Instruction. Try to follow those principles of the first few verses, and try to take good association. It doesn't mean detaching yourself entirely. It means attaching oneself to the favorable. Lord Kapila Dev says, every learned man, every learned man knows the greatest entanglement for the living entity is our association or attachment to the material sense gratification, or persons who are attached. That's the most entangling thing. And that same attachment, when transferred to the self-realized souls, is the cause of our liberation. So that's the detachment. We try to become attached to the chanting and prasadam and devotees and temple and like that. And in the home, trying to make your home a temple. Try to become like that. And on the other side, minimizing our, especially unnecessary association, minimizing it or avoiding it altogether, depending on if you have family commitments, you have occupational commitments, you have social commitments, but only try not to let it go too far and to the extent it may irritate us, and again indulge in sense gratification. So we've got to be careful of that. Detach ourselves, so be detachment from that. And within the mind, of course, we have to try to occupy our mind positively, same thing, by hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna or devotional service. Prabhupada said in one place, I can't remember where, but he said, if you try to focus your mind on how to spread Krishna consciousness, this is the most effective way to get free of the tendency to, be carried away by the mental thoughts, the concoctions, the desires for mundane things. By trying to think how I can serve, how I can engage myself in helping to spread Krishna consciousness. Because we're not so, honestly speaking, most of us, thinking of Krishna and, like that. But we can think of how to spread the message of Krishna, practical. And that then, by Krishna's grace, as the heart becomes cleansed, and naturally more and more, the mind or the consciousness will be more occupied in relationship with Krishna. And chanting Hare Krishna. Keep chanting, even if all these dirty things keep popping up. That's the earlier verse, wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, draw it back under the self, right? So like that, mind will wander, just draw it back again. And chanting Hare Krishna, or thinking how to do my service, or whatever it is. Some service where you can... I used to find that, my favorite service was cooking. It really occupied my attention, 100% absorption. And trying to remember this is for Krishna, it's not for my belly, it's for Krishna's pleasure. Really good service for many. Making flower garlands, I love making flower garlands, another wonderful meditation. I hardly do it. Buying the flowers, one of the best times of my life was when a younger devotee, I had to go to the flower market to buy the flowers for the deity. I was dreaming of the deity with the flower garlands on, I wake up, sometimes I have nightmares. Oh no, the color of the flowers is wrong. Oh no! I see it in my dream, I'd be seeing the deity, dressed in a color, and the flowers look awful, completely the wrong colors, I wake up, oh no, what have I got? I realized it was a dream, it was really a good experience, I mean, I wasn't thinking of Krishna exactly. It was in a sense, but it was like, seeing it like that. So a service like, or how to, whatever it is, just doing books or something or other. Something in the beginning, the service. That's why Prabhupada says the first taste, in the beginning of the Gita, he writes that. The first taste is usually for the service itself. Not so much for, wow, look at Krishna's eyebrows. Ooh, the ear. Not like that or something. Earrings and... You may, but it's generally the occupation of our intelligence. Use of our intelligence is how to keep the mind engaged in service of some kind or another. How to preach, how to worship the deity, how to do this, how to do that, and so on. Do you understand? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi.